whoever who would be speaking at this point with Montauk, we've said there's three things that you kind of need in life. Number one, you need quality texture for the literature. So essentially, if you were going to break it down into simple terms, you need quality texture. You basically need to have something that is good to read. So you need like good literature, good ideas, good words in some way. Ben, I think as we were starting to leave, you mentioned the last one. You want to say that one again? Yeah, so number two is going to be time. So you need time. What do you need time for when it comes to quality texture of something that you're going to be reading? What do you need time for?
Everything.
Life.
Specifically within this context, when it comes to read, yeah, you need time to read. You need time to digest it. And when we say, okay, you're going to be digesting the words, basically to understand. What is one of the, some would argue, drawback for reading something compared to watching something? It can take a long time. And even if it takes, I mean, in some cases it could be similar to, like, especially a short story, reading something, in half an hour, watching something in half an hour. If you're watching it, it's probably a little bit more passive. If you are reading it, whether or not it occurs or not, it could be debatable, but the intent is that it is going to be a little bit more intensive. It's going to take a little bit more time, a little bit more brain power in order to ultimately digest and to understand. When it comes to time, people will talk about there's not enough time in the day. I don't have enough time to do the homework. I don't have enough time to go to work. I don't have enough time then to have hockey games or hockey practice. I don't have enough time to watch little sister or brother at home. I don't have enough time to help parents or someone else. So, how are you able to manage all of those things can certainly become problematic. But Faber's argument would be, well, in order to have people who are intellectual, who are free thinking, you need to have good stuff to read, you need to have time to do it. Good things to read getting eliminated by the idea that that is no longer going to be part of their society where those books are getting eliminated. And time, well, if time's going with other things, then you're not going to worry about reading. But you need quality, you need time. Third thing, a little more abstract. And this was one of the questions that you're answering on your study guide. You need to have, the freedom to act, the right to act, on these two things. And that's a hard one for us to kind of, I think, grasp. Freedom or right to act upon the first two, meaning quality of literature and time. For the most part, you do have the freedom to kind of think about your own ideas and whatnot. But certainly there can be some places, there can be some areas, there can be some aspects of even like our everyday life where maybe you don't have the freedom to kind of act upon those things. If that freedom is ultimately taken away, you lose the ability to think. What then becomes the domino? If I can't think it, I can't read it,
The domino.
I can't express it. And so the domino kind of ends up being, if I can't read it, if I can't think it, I can't express it, and then it no longer happens. So if aspects of life are removed, we might remember it for a certain while, but then ultimately it kind of ends up going away. What did Faber used to do? Right now he's the old guy who has books. He used to be professor at a college, and he says the last college closed 40 years ago. So Montauk, main character, is only 30 years old. So the idea of a university, a college, a formal school wouldn't even be happening within his overall lifetime. And that would be a place where people would anticipate that you would have the ability to kind of think, that you have the ability to think, you have the ability to read, ability to express, ability to communicate. And so if those things get taken away, then basically that human freedom that we would have would begin to disappear. What's the plan? And again, something that kind of got mentioned within our study guide that we did. Mr. Kane. You're up. Sure. Yeah, leave stuff here. Okay, yep, no problem. Yep, fine. Keith, you can leave stuff here, but C or C. I said stop that. So, what's this plan? How are we gonna do our little revolt?
I don't know because I don't get the firemen to tear each other apart.
Oh, I know this plan.
Okay, so we're gonna have firemen essentially versus firemen. Absolutely correct.
They're gonna plant books in their homes and then set them on fire. Because they can't have
So if we plant books in the homes, and you remember, some of the firemen that we have. We know we have Captain Beatty. We mentioned the other two names last week. Anyone recall their names that Montauk specifically works with? Stoneman. Yep, Black and Stoneman. And so it would kind of start with here, but we plant their books in their homes, and so then essentially you end up having these firefighters knocking each other out. The salamander devours his tail metaphor. Ethan was mentioning, to us yesterday why this ends up being an appropriate symbol, an appropriate being that's going to represent the firemen, the fire department of 451. Salamander, we know it is a lizard. In mythology, it is, Ethan, you said born?
It is believed to be born from fire.
Born from fire. So, and this is something with both Greek and Roman. It's mythical in the sense that it's a real object. But there's this belief that it comes from fire and that it can sustain itself within fire. You are not going to burn a salamander. I don't know if there's ever been a definitive origin, from where it has come from the belief. I know an assumption that's been done by some is that, people were, and Ethan, you might have one to kind of add on top of this, they were putting logs to build a fire, coming from a tree and whatnot, and so they lit the fire, and after a while, the salamanders started to come out of, like, the tree stump, but they were not burned or they were not damaged. I'm pretty sure if you put a salamander in fire, it's ultimately not going to go well for the lizard. But it seemed to survive in the fire longer than what was normally anticipated.
Specifically of American and tribal mythologies as well, the specific trees that they did use for burning, like campfires and fire pits specifically, was logs that salamanders typically took up as their homes.
Would be in, yeah. And so, so the idea that the salamander would be able to devour his tail, the salamander is going to be representative of the fire department. They breathe, they live through fire, but now it's going to devour its own tail. Fire department is going to end up killing fire department. Fire department is going to end fire department by having the planting of these books, ultimately kind of taking place. Does it seem like a legitimate plan? Why? I mean, there is some logic to it.
Don't like salamanders grow back from hell?
To a point, I believe, yeah. So, from that metaphor standpoint, hey, how far are you going to get? It could devour, but it's going to continue to grow. And, you take a look at, all right, let's get rid of the fire department in this area. Chances are you got more than Captain Beatty, Black, and Stoneman in other parts of the country. Can you really get it to work big picture? And, we don't have it listed as a fireman, but certainly what is another creature that would be part of the fire department that we know Guy has a little bit of an issue with? You got the mechanical hound. How are you really going to, ultimately deal with this one? That could be a problematic thing for him. Yeah, just make sure you sign up.
Also, some specific breeds of salamanders and lizards, for that matter, most of them don't feel pain when they get their tails cut off or have their tails damaged.
It's not going to.
It's not going to hinder them.
Right, that's a good word to kind of use, and yeah, ultimately, then you're going to be able to kind of come back from it. If you live in Florida, Did you hear the weather warning this morning for Florida?
There's
What?
always a weather warning.
You have to watch out for falling
Falling iguanas. Frozen falling iguanas.
It's too cold, and I don't forget if what was it like 40 degrees or something like that. There's a certain temperature that the iguanas in Florida they can't hold onto the trees anymore, and so then they would start to fall. So literally, there was a weather warning. So be careful of falling iguanas from the sky. Salamanders, I don't know about, So, but if you're in Florida,
Man, Florida is just.
hey, at least we're not underwater yet.
Florida is what, like, the rest of the world thinks America is.
Well, let's get back to here. Yesterday, we're talking about the Bible. What's more important, a person or a book or an idea within it? And we were kind of split with that one, where the idea that, okay, human life versus an actual object. Why rip the Bible? What's the effect of ripping the Bible if you are God? Right, so Montauk rips the Bible, or at least threatens to, in front of Faber. It is a little bit of a power move. Why? I mean, if this is so sacred, and keep in mind what Guy was trying to do earlier was memorize it, was remember it, and we had the whole Denham's Dentritus thing going on in his head. Yeah, it's blackmail would be a good term. Essentially, blackmail is a threat. We could come up with a more positive connotation word, and that could be, hey, we're going to try to coax him. We're going to try to urge him. But basically, yeah, if you don't help me, if this isn't something that you're going to be willing to do, Tyler, you got the paper on from yesterday? No, you got another one over there. If you're not going to help me, then here's what's going to happen to the literature. It's going to get lost page by page by page. I'd say certainly here is where, as a writer, you're kind of making a symbolic move. What book are we using? We're going to use the Bible as opposed to Alice in Wonderland, as opposed to Winnie the Pooh, as opposed to your psychology textbook or something along those lines. What's the Max's book? Nancy Drew. Any of those things. So, why go with this one that's going to be the blackmail? Well, again, that sacred quality will have a stronger impact on Faber. And here, certainly, this is where Montauk is going to know, who am I dealing with? I'm dealing with a college professor. I'm dealing with someone who's going to be looking at human history. I'm dealing with someone who's going to be smart, someone who's going to be intelligent. I'm dealing with someone who knows what the Bible is, and I'm dealing with someone who understands what that impact could be on all of humanity. This certainly isn't going to work on Millie. It's probably not going to work on a baby kind of character or something like that. But this is like the right person, the right text, all of this at the right time.
Falling iguanas in Florida.
Yeah.
No, there's not.
I'm assuming if they put out the weather guide for it, there probably is.
Walking down the streets,
And their eyes are like white.
All right, now, books. Let's go to 96, 97. 96, 97.
My cousin actually lives in Florida. I'll ask her, have you seen any falling
Well, I think you had to be in certain areas. I don't think it was whole entire.
And that's where it's at.
96, 97.
I did not start reading that.
Florida usually has weather where birds explode on a regular basis.
They have the gators down there.
On 96, 97, we have this poem here that we're dealing with. Keep in mind, so far as the context of it, for Sea of Faith, for the poem, we have Montauk, Reed's poem, to Millie, and her friends. What is the risk Montauk is taking, the guy is taking by reading the poem? Hayden. Hey, we're good? What's the risk?
Reading a
Okay,
in front of Millie.
so A, we're reading. Zach, keep going.
It's like they might snitch.
So by reading in front of Millie and friends, you're making yourself susceptible to potentially being turned in, potentially reported. It's one thing to say, I think so-and-so has a book. It's a whole another thing to go, I saw Tyler with the book. I saw Bill with the book. I saw Jenna with the book.
That would be just labeling.
If, in our world, yes. In their world, though, in which they're living, if there is any kind of thought that you very well may be guilty, they are going to assume that you are guilty of it. So, and again, keep in mind, the era that which this is getting written, this is 1950s. Politically, we were talking about this is Red Scare. Communism is the big fear. So if we were to go, hey, I think Zach's a communist or he's anti-American, whether or not official punishment takes place could be debatable, but there's certainly going to be a viewpoint that would be, taking place. Takes the poem. So he's going to end up reading this to him. What's faith? Hope, belief. What makes faith different than, say, knowledge?
Knowledge you know, for sure.
Faith?
Faith is just like
Trust. And I think belief and hope certainly kind of go with this. So faith is something for the most part, and you could have arguments of people maybe, well, no, I think I can, but for the most part, it's understood that it's not proven. So you have faith in something, you might have faith in a person, you have faith in an idea, you have a faith in a concept, but you can't necessarily prove it. So we're dealing here with C of faith, C of hope, C of belief, C of trust. The sea of faith was once to, at the full and rounder shore, lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges, drear and naked shingles of the world. Melancholy. Sadness, mournful. All right, so it's emotion, it's feeling. So we're here dealing with sadness. I only hear sadness. I only hear mourning. Long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the which wind? Night wind. What do we associate with night? Dark.
sad.
And so with it, it could be evil, could be darkness, could be some kind of sadness that is going to be taking place. So it is a dark time. Chairs creaked under the three women, obviously not part of the poem. Montauk finished it out. Love, let us be true to one another, for the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams. So we're not dealing with reality, but we're dealing with dreams. So various, so beautiful, so new, hath neither joy, nor love, nor light. What's the world missing? So we're missing light. We are missing books. His argument would be by missing books, we do not have, well, not only knowledge, but you don't have the ability to express emotions, joy, love, light, happiness, sadness, any of those kinds of things. First part, main theme that is getting reinforced is going to be darkness, lack of hope. Second stanza, with looking at dreams, hoping for something like joy, love, or light. What is the desire? What's our desire in this land of darkness? That there will be hope. If it's night, that hope starts to come with at night, What ends the nightmares? What ends the darkness? When you wake up, when you have new day, new light. Keep drawing away for now. Let's focus on this.
Exotic, that's what I said.
Four as well. So, what would be happening here where we have first stanza dealing with darkness, second stanza dealing with light? Why work within the context of
In a
that
second.
within the
Press,
story?
and you found love is life.
Say it again.
You use that to press, and you found love is life.
What's love is light?
The land of dreams.
What about within him though as character?
Oh, it's Bonton.
Mhm.
Books.
So, this world that they live in, where you're not going to have books, where you're not going to have hope, where you have it being run the way that it is, this would be for them basically the present day. Symbolically, what does he want to have that we have down here in the second part? A new day where we have the ability for some kind of change to take place. What is part of that change going to be? Well, that's his plan where we're going to have no more firefighters, firemen, no more fire departments, no more aspects of life where they simply want to go with the way that it is. So he's looking to try to instigate some kind of change. Poetry, you associate emotions, you associate feelings. So he's trying to spread what his new kind of feeling is going to be from this point out. Hey, we got a chance for something new. What ends up being an issue, the problem? Well, if he gets reported, what happens? You don't have that idea anymore. All right, so this is kind of what we have here as our ultimate sort of turning point that's going to be taking place. So the structure of the poem is certainly meant to kind of mimic the structure of what Montague's hopes are going to be at this point. Poem mirrors Montague's hopes. And where he is going to have faith that this is going to take place. Page 99. Faber and Montague. So we're just turning over 2 pages. Faber and Montague have conversation about fire and water.
Fire.
Fire and water, if you add those things together as a addition problem, what do fire and water equal together?
Carbon dioxide.
Steam.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways you could say nothing. Fire takes out water, water kind of takes out
Like
fire.
chemistry wise.
Well, yeah, in chemistry you're going to have steam, but basically neither one is going to exist at that point. Fire plus water. When we take a look here within page 99, we're not going to 70s rock or those things.
Airbender.
Already in a few short hours, it seemed that he had known Faber a lifetime. Now he knew that he was 2 people, that he was above all Montague, who knew nothing, who did not even know himself a fool, but also suspected it. And he knew that he was also the old man who talked to him and talked to him as the train was sucked from one end of the night city to the other. Why are they 2 people? Like, legitimately, why are they 2 people at this point? Not metaphorically, legitimately, why do you have 2 people? Negative. Why are they 2 people? Montague, Faber.
Because they're not from the same parents.
No, but why are they 2 people as one?
Oh. They both like books and they're kind of rebels.
They got 2 interests. Doesn't mean you're going to be one person, though. You're right.
Things like the seashells.
What does Guy have in his ear?
Seashells.
Well, it's not the seashell, but he has the green radio transmitter. You have no idea what we're talking about. You're really behind with part number 2. Max, I'm not talking about you for this. You need to get caught up with it. He has that transmitter. What is he able to do through the transmitter? Faber has the ability to talk to him. It's not really a two-way thing, but he literally has Faber in his ear. when it comes to your conscience, you'll talk about how you have a voice kind of telling you what to do, when to do things, whatnot. Faber literally is there kind of talking to him. We know Faber's not happy with everything that Montauk is saying because he really dislikes it when Montauk starts reading the poem. Basically calls him an idiot. You're a fool. You know, they got a chance to try to turn you in. What are you going to do about it? So, down here on 99, he would be Montauk plus Faber, fire plus water, and then one day, after everything had mixed and simmered and worked away in silence, there would be neither fire nor water, but wine. Out of two separate and opposite things, a third. It is not how chemistry works. So, of the two, why would it make sense for one of them to be fire? Who's going to be representative of fire? Montauk, he's the fireman. Why would it make sense for Faber to be water? Doesn't live by water. Doesn't drink Aquafina all day long.
Aquafina is bad for you.
Why would it make sense for him to be water? Pardon? Yes. And he likes books. So, what is the death of books? Fire. So, Faber would be someone who wants to ultimately preserve books. Montauk, we know as him being a fireman, would be representative of fire. Ends up saying they equal wine. I don't remember who said it. Someone said that doesn't make any sense from a chemistry standpoint, and it doesn't. It's not going to happen. So you add those two things together. Don't go home and tell mom and dad or whomever. Take some fire, add some water. You'll end up having wine.
I'll tell the chemistry teacher that.
This doesn't make sense. Yeah, Mr. Ebert's probably going to look at you as if, why are you coming up with this idea? So, it doesn't make sense. This would be, for wine, it would end up being something new. What are they hoping to do? We're going to have something new. We're going to have a new world. We're going to have a new belief. We're going to kind of have a new hope. So symbolically, taking two things, and fire and water, kind of like oil and water, we would say are
dangerous.
Water could be good for you, depending, but they are certainly going to be opposites. So you have this idea that let's take two opposites, let's take two things that would normally never be associated with one another. Let's have two opposites, let's bring it together. That's our opportunity where you're going to have something new, because some kind of ultimate change is what you're looking for. Really, what would this change be? If fire and water together made wine, we'd probably go, oh my goodness, it's a miracle. It would be a miracle if some kind of change like this ultimately took place.
It's kind of going back to the Bible and how they
I would think so, yes. Because you're doing something that doesn't make sense. You're doing something that can't be explained. When are you doing this? Like within the course of the book? Hey, this is 2 pages right after you had to see a faith poem. Main word that we were putting emphasis on was faith, some kind of change, some kind of belief that cannot be proven. So yeah, in that way, it would certainly be a miracle kind of idea for this kind of new world to happen. Yeah, I would say you probably have that illusion going on. And Zach, I don't remember if it was you that asked the question or not, but you know, when we were talking about the old woman lightering herself, you know, does he mean to do that kind of like a Statue of Liberty? I think when you have that and something like this kind of happening later on, that yeah, you get a little bit more credence to the idea or legitimacy to the idea that yeah, you have some illusions taking place here, and with this one certainly being a biblical illusion that you would have. And and that's why I'd go, hey, it'd be a miracle if this ultimately were to happen. Beatty has a dream right before we get to the end, because our chapter here is ending on page like 105, 106. Beatty has a dream as Montauk's coming in to the fire station. Do you know I had a dream an hour ago? I lay down for a cat nap, and in this dream, you and I, Montauk, got into a furious debate on books. So Beatty, Montauk, argument about books. You towered with rage, yelled quotes at me. I calmly parried every thrust, powers, I said, and you quoting Dr. Johnson, Samuel Johnson, author. Knowledge is more than equivalent to force, and I said, well, Dr. Johnson also said, dear boy, that he is no wise man that will quit a certainty for an uncertainty. And keeps going on and on about different kind of things that they would say. What would be the irony of Beatty quoting books?
He's quoting a book. He's fired.
He's not supposed to know books. Okay. Pardon? Had that alliteration, Beatty in books. So he's not supposed to read books, but if you're going to quote something, chances are you probably know it. You know it. It's not something that you like kind of partially remember. You're going to know it very well. Gets into an argument, and they keep going on down here where he's going to quote and quote and quote things. So you have this dream that he mentioned. So the argument doesn't really happen, but he has this dream about the two of them arguing about books. Irony, Beatty's job is to destroy books. Beatty, and we have to kind of qualify this, most likely, reads books. That certainly seems to be a conflict of interest. Are they buddies? Are they going to become friends? What does this kind of imply? Does Beatty believe in what he does? Does Beatty want to preserve books as well? So here is where, the kind of questions start to happen for us. What ultimately what is Beatty's role in the world? And this is not something that we can really answer right now. What does Beatty believe about books as to what should happen to him? He certainly seems to be one who thinks that they should be destroyed based on his job, based on his actions, but we have this little kind of loophole that seems to be kind of taking place. This is something that we're going to look at the beginning of part number 3. That study guide for Monday, that reading check quiz for Monday, I don't want to say make or break, but that's really